Welcome to this cozy week reading a cowboy romance. I'm essentially in the perfect atmosphere, perfect setting, other than being on a ranch, and there are no horses here, but everything else pretty much checks it off, and this is as close as I'll ever be to living on a ranch for now. But we're reading Fever Dream by Elsie Silver, and I'm so excited. The premise is pretty wild. I just want to get entranced in a romance book right now. It's June. What I know from the plot is going to be absolutely perfect. And if you don't know, Elsie Silver is pretty much the queen of cowboy romances. All of her series so far, there are 3 completed ones. I've read every single one and I love. So high hopes for this. Probably one of my most anticipated releases. What we do know about the plot so far is that it's a reality TV dating show. Our main girl is not one of the contestants. It's taking place on a ranch. She's one of the producers or works for the show. And he is kind of a villain from another book in another Elsie Silver series. So we've heard about Emmett before, and he's the bachelor essentially on the show. So it's promising a week of some intense feelings, some fun emotions and roller coaster. I'm not a huge reality TV person, so I'm really curious of how this will go, but I just want to take you along on the ride. So welcome, grab a book, get cozy, and let's read this week. I did start off a little bit before I got here, so you can enjoy my first few thoughts of the book, and then we'll get into reading in this perfect setting. Good morning. Oh, the birds are chirping away this morning. I started Fever Dream by Elsie Silver yesterday, and I'm about to start chapter 8. Yeah, I got about 55 pages through last night. I couldn't fall asleep, so I was reading on my Kindle, actually, most of it. It's an interesting premise. To preface, I'm not really a big reality TV girl. It's just not my vibe. I actually prefer watching reaction videos of reality TV shows on YouTube. If you know, Dylan is in trouble. I don't know, I find that really funny. But a lot of my friends are into reality TV, so I know the world well, and I think a lot of people do, which is why the premise kind of works, because you understand what goes behind reality TV. Essentially, this famous bull rider decides to be the bachelor on a version of The Bachelor / Bachelorette, which takes place on his ranch. And obviously, because we've met the 2 main characters already, it's a romance, you can kind of tell what's gonna happen, and it's dual POV, which I love. What's a little fishy is she is not one of the 10 bachelorettes or contestants who he's supposed to make a connection with. She is one of the producers, not really producer, location consultant on this show. And so they have a bit of a history. They met each other through her brother many years ago, but they're kind of enemies. Him and her brother are rivals in the bull riding world. So there's that enemies to lovers aspect, but it's not quite rooted in something real because he's never done anything bad to her and vice versa. So it's a bit of a surface level, or I shouldn't like you, so I don't. And already sparks are kind of flying 8 chapters in. She realizes his whole bad boy facade that the media portrays is truly a facade and is maybe what he wants the media to see of him. And she's getting to know him by being surrounded by his family at this ranch because, as I said, it's being filmed where he lives, essentially where his family lives. I'm still very early on, of course. I mean, you saw the percent of what I read versus what's left to go, but I do have a feeling I'm gonna fly through this. I really like it. It's for sure the vibe I wanted for June. I have high hopes, even though the reality TV part really threw me off because you're mixing cowboy ranch, when you're reading a cowboy romance, you kind of want to disconnect with the modern world. At least that's how I feel when I pick these up, and I want to pretend I'm in the mountains or by a lake and block out everything else. So the fact that they're gonna bring in, the crew hasn't gotten there, the actual show hasn't started, it's still all the pre stuff. So I'm curious to see how my opinion will change once they start actually filming it, and he's going on dates with other women but falling for her. How are they gonna do that? Is he still gonna get the money for the show? Wait, there are actually so many contingencies because he really needs this money to help his family and the ranch succeed. The money he would get for being on the show and the money they get for hosting it at the ranch. So, whoa, okay, I now just got a surge of really wanting to read more because there are so many things that I'm wondering how Elsie is going to handle, knowing that he's probably going to end up with our other main character, because why else would we have both of their POVs? So I'll keep you updated. Immaculate June summer vibes. This is a new one in a new series. I didn't realize we finished the Wild series. They're all called based off the town they're in. I completely forgot what that one is, but this one takes place in Alberta, near-ish Calgary. A few hours north of there is a valley where they're all at. And what I really liked actually is Julia, our main character, Julia Silva, is the sister of Theo Silva, who we meet in one of her other series. So I really liked that, because then he also mentions Rhett Eaton, who is another main character from that other series. You don't have to have read them to read this, trust me. He's actually portraying them in a kind of negative light because they're like enemies and rivals in their job, but it was so cute because it reminded me years ago when I read the whole Flawless Chestnut Spring series. So I just love the whole interconnected series and books like that. And anyway, I highly recommend. So far I'm 55 pages in. Let me continue. I'm getting carried away because I just love this author and I love cowboy romances, but we'll keep reading and I'll update you. Officially on page 166. I'm flying through this book. I don't want to say I love it because there are definitely elements of the reality TV really pulling me out of it, but the more and more we get of the main characters together, the more I am starting to love this book. So it's confusing me a little bit on how I feel about it. And I still have quite a while to go through, actually. I'm not even halfway, so a lot more will definitely develop. What I will say about the plot, which I haven't really had with an Elsie Silver book before, the queen of cowboy romances, is I'm really intrigued and confused how she's going to wrap it up. The actual plot line and why the reality TV show is happening is very specific, and I have a feeling it's going to make the third act conflict kind of have me on the edge of my seat, and I'm somewhat looking forward to it because it's making me think also that the third act conflict might not be related to him doing something really stupid, because a lot of times the third act conflict, I think, is so unnatural, and if two people really liked each other that much, they wouldn't do whatever this third act conflict is. But in this book, I have a feeling it might genuinely be fully external circumstances, which will make it really tough for them to work through. I'm already thinking, how are you going to make this work? Like, you're clearly falling for each other. Neither of them have admitted to themselves or to the other that they like each other yet. So we're still very much early stages, slow burn. It's quite funny as well. Elsie Silver, though, to me is always funny, so I'm glad that that's carried over. And I've been really, really liking the references to her other series, Chestnut Springs. I mentioned that a bit earlier, but it's coming in more and more as I read that they'll mention Theo Silva, Rhett, and she's actually mentioning things that happened in that book. So I'm now remembering Emmett being really portrayed as a bad guy and a villain in those books. He actually not hits on, but kind of has a thing with Winter, who is Theo Silva's wife, and they have their own book. Winter and Theo have their own book in another Elsie Silver series. So it's just so cool. I love this, whole interconnected piece of it. On the feelings side, they both have such tragic pasts, and the glimpses of them sharing about their trauma and everything they've been through is hitting. I am, however, getting a tiny bit fed up with how often this man will cover up his feelings. Even in his internal monologue, he'll start opening it up and he goes, actually, I don't want to think about that. Or actually, I don't want to talk about that. Like, okay, you're a dude. You're still allowed to have feelings. And at this point, I think he's 30. It's time to think about why you feel certain things. It's like we're watching or reading real time him figuring out that he has emotions and trauma. So I'd say maybe 5% eye rolling when he's in his internal monologue pushing down his feelings, because it just sounds so boy. But get over it. Like, you need to work on yourself and open yourself to love, which we do see him doing with Julia. I did like the story of his last name. I thought that was a really cool character point, and to add more to the depth of why he goes by a different last name and how it was kind of forced upon him. So I won't spoil that. If you do want to read this book, you will find that out. But I'm gonna keep flying through this. It's officially lunchtime, which means I have my lunch break, and I'm gonna read. I am reading this quite quickly. I honestly hope to finish it today. So let's keep going. I didn't think through where I'm gonna sit. I finally finished this book, and boy, do I have thoughts. I still don't really know what my rating is. It's between 3.5 and 4.5 stars. I'm very conflicted. I think I'll probably end up just giving it straight 4, but the third act conflict for me really makes or breaks a romance book, because that's how we see the couple going through the trenches. Are they gonna make it out? And it was the shortest third act conflict I've ever seen, ever. It wasn't even really a fight. She just texted him, "How could you?" And then she spiraled, and then she got drunk with his sister, and then everything was fine. So in terms of that, I'm kind of glad that nothing so bad happened that they couldn't come back from it, because there just wasn't really a fight or anything bad that they did to each other, which is good. So they kind of get points for that. It was a bit anticlimactic though. And I always complain and say that maybe romance books don't need a third act conflict, because why are we making the couple fight? But then it made me realize when there was a very anticlimactic one, I did kind of miss a bit of the drama. So maybe I'm the problem there. In terms of how the plot wrapped up, it was funny because everything worked out so well for them. And I kind of had a feeling it would, because our villain, as I was telling you earlier, was just so evil and so bad that there's no way he could have gotten away with it at the end. And nobody liked him. So even though he worked for the network, it was very unlikely he was going to make it out unscathed and holding something over the head of our main characters. But in terms of all the feelings and how I felt, it was very cute. I liked their bond. I still stand by this, too many side characters. Also, why did they give Evelyn, the other essentially villain, one of the contestants, a good ending? She didn't need it. I liked Catherine, the murdery one. Again, kind of random side character. I did see that Elsie Silver is already writing the next one in this series, and she says it's about the Brants, so I'm assuming it's going to be about one of Emmett's sisters. I liked how Theo and Winter show up from that first series at the end, and that was cute. It was nostalgic. I guess if I had to sum up, I liked this book. I just don't think I'm going to remember it forever. So it felt a little flat for me. I got so sidetracked, but to finish my review, it's a little bit later in the day, I overall did enjoy it. I liked the emotional aspect of the relationship, and I thought it was cute how they see themselves in the really loving, more mature relationship of his grandparents. That was really cute. They kept at the end kind of comparing themselves to the grandparents. It got really messy when they became exclusive or decided that they're seeing each other, and he was still filming the TV show, the reality dating TV show. But it was interesting. So it was easy to fly through. But yeah, like I said, for some reason, I don't think I'm going to remember this one forever. He was not in any means one of my favorite main characters. I think I will forever love Charlie from One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. Like, god tier. Also, I watched the first episode of that show last night and I hated it, and I'm so mad because that is my favorite book, essentially. Every Summer After was one of my favorite books. One Golden Summer is genuinely probably one of my favorite books, and I hated the show, which sucks. So I'm very, very mad. I only watched one episode. I don't think I'm gonna continue, but anyway, that's a side tangent rant. But yeah, all in all, I think this was just so cozy to read this week with this setting. I feel like I match so well with the book. I don't know if I love this. I wasn't a big fan. I don't like seeing photos, but there were one or two other drawings throughout that I actually didn't mind. This one, and then at one point while I was filming reading, I saw another one and I reacted to it. This one's not bad. That's kind of cute. I think it's just the color that threw me off, and he looks so old here. He looks like he has gray hair versus here his hair looks much better. So this one, not a fan of, but the rest within the book, I did kind of like. I would still recommend Elsie Silver, but this is definitely my least favorite of hers. I honestly, this whole video is me trying to make a decision because I told you this is between 3.5 and 4.5 stars, which is still a great rating. So clearly I don't even understand how I feel, but that's kind of the beauty of books. I'm gonna leave you there. Let me know if you have any other book recommendations I should be reading this summer. I just want to feel cozy and binge some books. Next up, I think I'm going to read Assistant to the Villain, so stay tuned for that. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more. Let me know what else you want to see in terms of book content. And that's all. Bye!